We are interested in sea ice and the microorganisms that live inside the sea ice and directly underneath the sea ice. So what we're looking at is marine fungi, which can not only grow in the forest, but also underneath the sea ice, and they interact with all sorts of organisms like sea ice algae and affect how much organic matter is produced. Particles can help with the export of carbon into the deeper water layers, but also the particles that are not sinking down can be eaten by fungi again or by bacteria, which then in turn get eaten by tiny animals and can be eaten by fish. And this can go all the way up the food chain to seals and polar bears. So the declining sea ice and the microorganisms in the sea ice can affect the whole ecosystem of the Arctic.
So we're joining an icebreaker ship called Oden, which is a Swedish ship. On the 15th of July we'll be flying out there, and from there we transit north towards Svalbard, and we actually start the science 7 days later. So we head north up to the North Pole. We're then going to turn left towards the coast of Greenland, into some of the really thick long-term ice, before heading back again towards Svalbard and into Sweden. So neither of us has been on board Oden before, but we've both been to sea on other research vessels. So it'll be fairly similar. We'll either have a 2-berth or a 4-berth cabin that we'll share with other researchers. There'll be communal space, so usually like a lounge, places where you can relax when you're not working. Obviously lots of laboratories to carry out the work that we'll be doing. And one of the most important places for me, I think, is the mess room, which is where we get all of our food, and usually the food on ships is pretty good because they have to keep us well fed and happy, because it's lots of hard work.
Yeah, and I think in addition, both of us will have some card games or little games we can play in the evening with everybody else. And also in the polar regions, it's 24 hours daylight, so even if you have a break at midnight, you can still go out and enjoy the ice, enjoy the scenery.
So Birthe is actually heading up this research trip, and I'm joining her as an extra pair of hands because it's actually quite a lot of work, so we'll both be working on everything together. So one aspect of it will be CTDs, which is a water sampling device which they crane over the side of the ship. It takes water samples at various depths, and then back on board we'll be collecting our water samples and then processing them via filtering them.
Yeah, and another aspect is the sea ice work, so hopefully at 9 stations during the cruise we will be able to go on the sea ice and drill holes into the ice and then cut up the ice cores and take them back with us on the lab and do the same sort of filtering like we did for the water column. So we will be taking loads of photos and videos hopefully throughout the trip, of our work, of the wildlife, of just life on board.
And we've been lent some really neat equipment by the MBA as well, so hopefully we'll be popping a camera down some of our ice holes, so if you want to go on a little adventure under the ice, hopefully we'll be able to provide that when we get back. So over the course of the expedition, we're going to be doing a weekly diary and sharing this with you, and this will include our day-to-day life, so what we've been up to on board, what we've had for dinner, how our research is going and our experiences on the ice and maybe any wildlife that we've seen, and also any funny stories that happen along the way.
Yeah, unfortunately we don't have very good Wi-Fi, so all the pictures and videos that we'll be taking during the cruise we can't send home while we're away, so you'll have to wait for those when we get back.